Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to questions and answers. Second session for today. Just before the short interval, we had our dear sister phoning in to remind us about being present in Salah, and I discussed that in great length. Prior to that, we had the question with regards to a lady who has a eczema problem in which she scratches her body, her arm in particular, and then it tends to bleed throughout most of the day, and she was wondering what she does with regards to A, wudu, and B, the blood which may stain her garment. We have the phone number 01274 214 299 in case you want to call in like our sister did, to put your question directly to us so that we may give you some answers. And bear in mind that tomorrow there is no Q&A live, so this is it really for this week. So get your phone out, start dialing the number or start pressing the buttons, whichever is easier. And also we have an email address which is Q&A, that's Q-A-N-D-A @iqra.tv. Okay, that's Q-A-N-D-A @iqra.tv. And we have some emails that we need to look into. So here we go. So it's good, alhamdulillah, this service that's being used. So the first question we have is it permissible to take your husband's name after marriage? Now, I'm assuming she means the surname of a husband, not the first name, because having a lady calling herself Javed might not necessarily sound too good. So I'm going to assume from this is that she's referring to a surname. And this is a practice that we find particularly within Western circles. I think pretty much a kind of a Christian thing, where the girl would be, or the woman would have her father's surname, and then when she would marry, she would take her husband's surname, because the husband, she would be recognized as the husband's wife. So a bit, antiquity, whatever the phrase is. So she'd go from a husband's from a father to a husband. In Islam, you see, that relationship with the father continues. So she would continue to have the surname of her father, because when she marries a man, she does not change her identity. She continues to remain the daughter of her father. She just happens now to be married to a husband. You see, in Islam, the marriage bond is not as strong as the blood bond. Hence, you see a woman who has her kunya, a nickname, she might be called Musa or Kulsum. Now, what does Musa or Kulsum mean? Musa or Kulsum means the mother of Kulsum. So sometimes a woman might have a kunya, like the mother of Kulsum, or she may be the Binte Abu Bakr, the daughter of so-and-so. So what she will do is, because these bonds, the bond of children and the bond of a father, they never break. They can never break. Whereas a husband and wife's relationship can break. Talaq is what breaks a husband and wife relationship. So even though we feel this is the most intimate relationship between two humans, is marriage, in reality it's a bond which can break, whereas a father's and daughter's bond can never break. A mother and a child's bond can never break, because it's bond by blood, not by contract. So I just wanted to make that clear. So, however, when a woman takes her husband's name, when she marries him, this is not, as we understand it from an urf perspective, her denying her identity with her father. She continues to remain, her identity in terms of her link to her father remains. She's just now expressing a new relationship. The Sharia speaks negatively about those people who change their surnames, okay, in order to disconnect from their parents. So they don't want to be known as so-and-so's child. You know, sometimes when a person does something really bad and a person doesn't want to be known by that person's name anymore, so they change. So this is what the Sharia speaks about. So yes, it is permissible for a woman to take her husband's surname as her name if she so desires, with the intention that it's not there to replace her father's name. We've also got another question from our email address, which is slightly big. It's filling the screen, so I'm just going to ask my producer to scroll it down so I can catch all of it. And whilst he's doing that, here it comes. So we're going to take the second email. The email has come in on our new email. Well, it's not new anymore. It's slightly old now, which is Q&A. That's Q-A-N-D-A at iqra.tv. Also, whilst you're watching and you want to call in, you can call in live right now, and it's 01274 214 299. So let's go to the second question that we've received by email. The question says, whilst performing wudu, what are we supposed to pray? Can we say the words out aloud, or do we have to say it in the heart? For example, Bismillah. Anything we say, okay, you know, Allahumma ja'alni min at-tawwabin wa ja'alni min al-mutahhirin ashhadu an la ilaha anta, you know, the what we recite after the wudu, the second kalima, and also what I just said there, Allahumma ja'alni min at-tawwabin wa ja'alni min al-mutahhirin, or Bismillah. Anything like that should be, if it's recited, it should be audible. Prayer is not something which is in the heart. Audible to reach your ears, that will suffice. As long as it's audible to reach your ears, then it will suffice. It does not need to be so loud that the whole house can hear. As long as you can hear it, then that will be more than sufficient. So that's what we should do. There's nothing we should do in our heart. The only thing in your heart is your niyyah. When you make niyyah, that I'm making niyyah to make wudu, there is no requirement for niyyah in wudu, but it is better to make niyyah for wudu. It is more rewarding, and it's following the sunnah. But if a person didn't make niyyah for wudu, the wudu would still be valid. So the niyyah is something we say in our heart, but when it comes to the du'as, then all du'as have to be audible. Okay, because you are recanting them, you are reciting them, and therefore they should reach your ears, not any louder than that. So Jazakumullah khairan for those people. I'm assuming the first one was a sister. I'm not sure who the second person was who emailed that in. My colleague, the producer, he will give a short response via email as well, responding to them. But what we always say is whenever you do send a question in via email, then please tune in that day or the day after onto the Iqra TV Q&A session, because we will tackle your question in that session. So for future reference, if you do send a question in by email on Q&A at iqra.tv, then bear in mind that to watch the episode either that evening or the following evening on Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, and then you will hear your question. You will get the reply. And also my colleague, what he's doing is not only is he giving a short reply back to the question, he's also going to give a link to the YouTube channel, the YouTube video where this live session is being recorded. So if ever you miss a Q&A on Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, or Monday, Tuesday for that matter, then you will go, if you go to Iqra TV's YouTube channel, then I think within a week, is that fair? So the next day, subhanallah. Now that service, within the next day, within 24 hours, that live recording will be available on the YouTube channel, so you can catch those questions. So, and that link is sent on the Q&A. So what a service our producer is doing, multitasking like nobody's business, sending lots of things in and also dealing with it. So alhamdulillah, that's done. So let's see if we've got any other questions that we've got on the group. So let's go on to the next. Yeah, so we've got some questions that have come in since yesterday. So let's deal with them. But if you do have some questions, we do have about 10 minutes or so. So please do call on 01274 214 299. But let's get to these questions. Jazakallah Mufsa for explaining each and every bit. I just want to clarify my mind. What does it mean? Well, we'll get to that, because before we've got a call who's calling. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear caller.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you,
brother?
I'm very well, thank you. You're keeping well?
I'm very well indeed. It's your brother Jabir from North Wales.
Oh, mashallah. How are you keeping?
I'm doing very well indeed. Very well.
I heard the trains. I heard the trains are not running tomorrow in Wales, and the schools are closed. Is that true?
It is true. South Wales.
South Wales. Jazakallah khair for that.
Mashallah, we're in the north where it's more pleasant and beautiful.
The north is always more pleasant and beautiful, says a northerner from Bradford here.
Well said. Well said. The reason I'm ringing, first of all, apologies, I'm a bit late today. My little request is if you can enlighten us and give me the knowledge as well with the rest of the viewers. There's a blessing when we get together as a circle and we are talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we reciting zikr, reciting the Quran and listening to the beautiful verses of the Holy Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards us for sitting together in a circle or whatever effect we are, because we are talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is your opinion when, mashallah, you are spreading the word of Islam, reminding the Muslims, we may not be sitting in a circle, but we are all over United Kingdom, and if your program goes in the world as well, or Europe, what is your guidance? We must be getting rewarded for all this.
Jazakumullah khair. Interesting question. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much indeed. Love you always.
And yourself, my dear brother. And yourself, my dear brother. Excellent question. You know, the narrations that our brother is alluding to is those which are mentioned about gatherings, circles of recitation, circles of the remembrance of Allah, dhikrullah, as I mentioned. Normally, as historically, these would have taken place in masajids, in madaris, places of learning, places of worship. But fast forward to the 21st century, and we live in a time now, or 22nd century, we live in a time now where a circle is beyond the physical now, you know, we're virtual now, meaning here I am sat in Bradford, you know, many people might be viewing this in England, and then we've got our brother from Wales, and then we'd have people in Scotland. Now this show goes out Europe-wide, this show goes out globally. It's available, you know, throughout the world on the internet, iqra.tv. Then, alhamdulillah, it ends up on the recordings of the Iqra TV YouTube channel. And every single person involved in that, there is ajr for them. Absolutely no doubt. You know, ad-dalu ala khayri kafa'ilihi. The one who indicates towards good is like the one who actually performs the act. So spreading ilm, spreading knowledge, is a treasure which increases by giving it away. Normally we find that whenever we have a good thing, we like to hoard on to it. Okay, as young children, we don't want to share our toys. As young children, we don't want to share our sweets or whatever else we've been given. And that habit doesn't really change in us. We get older, but we don't really mature. You know, we might be 6, 7 at this age doing this, but at 50, 60, we're still doing this. So, you know, we have that habit. But that knowledge spreads, then we take a share of every person that's involved in that, and we get the ajr for that, because here we are remembering Allah, sat on a Friday night, because the night comes before the day, and we're remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll elaborate on that a little bit further. We do have a caller waiting. I don't want to keep the caller waiting too long. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear caller.
Wa alaikum salam. Good evening, sir. How are you and everybody and all the Muslim world?
MashaAllah, where have you been?
I'm actually in the office. So,
have you? Somebody was talking about you the other day.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Thank you very much.
Our mufti.
I'm busy here. I know you're busy there.
Yeah.
Quick question.
Go on.
The word mufti, what does it mean and what does it entail?
The word mufti?
Yes.
Okay. Jazakumullah.
Thank you.
No problem, my brother. So, if we look at the word mufti, it's derived from the word fatwa. And we have numerous words which come from this word, fatwa. There's istiftah. Istiftah. So, alif sin, tif, ta, fa, ta. So, istiftah is the request for a fatwa. Fatwa is a legal edict, a legal response, and the person who gives the legal response is a mufti. What's different to a mufti compared to, say, a maulana, an imam? A mufti specializes in being able to give responses. So normally speaking, a mufti, and remember there's grades of mufti, like there's grades of a doctor, like there's grades of a mechanic, like there's grades of anybody, everybody. It's no different. Like you take your car to the local mechanic and he's a qualified mechanic and he does an average job. And then you find another mechanic, a couple of miles away and he does a fantastic job. Now he's a mechanic and he's a mechanic, but there's grades, as we know, there's levels. Football, let me give you another analogy. Somebody who's playing in the Conference League is also a footballer, as somebody playing in the Championship, as also somebody playing in the Premier League in the relegation zone, as well as Cristiano Ronaldo. They're all footballers, but is the person who's playing on a Sunday league the same as Cristiano Ronaldo? Of course not. So even within muftis, there's grades. So we've tried to find that mufti who is learned, who on the apparent is pious, because we cannot know if somebody is pious, because only Allah knows if somebody is pious. We can only go by the apparent, their mannerisms, their behavior, and usually it's the people close to them that will know them really well, meaning their wives, their children. They will know them properly because, we really show our true colors at home. We can all put a persona on outside. We can all look in a certain way outside. We can all put masks on outside. So really, that's what a mufti is. It used to be within the Islamic kind of world, a legal position. So there's a qazi and there's a mufti. A qazi used to be in the apparatus of the legal system. He was a judge. Like we have judges in secular courts. A qazi is a judge in a Sharia court when we had the Muslim world as it was in terms of being based on Islamic principles. A mufti, on the other hand, was kind of freelance in the sense that he didn't work within the state legal setup. He would give a fatwa. Therefore, a mufti's fatwa would not be legally binding, whereas a qazi's edict would be legally binding because the qazi is within the state's apparatus, within the legal system, whereas a mufti is outside of the legal system. So what he is giving is an opinion. Another difference between the two is that when a mufti gives you, he gives you a textbook answer. He doesn't give you necessarily an answer to determine, he doesn't give you an answer to determine the truth. So let me give you an example which will hopefully explain that. If a woman comes up to a mufti and says to the mufti that my husband beats on me, he doesn't give me my due rights, this, that, and the other, whatever, is this grounds for me to divorce? The mufti will say, yes, of course it is. But then the husband finds out that this woman has gone to this mufti. So the husband rings this mufti and says, you just told my wife that she has grounds for divorce. And the mufti says, yes. Yeah, but you never asked me. The mufti says, it wasn't my job to determine the accuracy of what she's saying. I did not give a qadha, I did not give a judgment. I answered her question. If the scenario is as you describe it, then this is the answer. A qazi, on the other hand, when a woman would come up to the mufti, the qazi, and say to him that this is the situation, he would then say, I cannot give a judgment in these circumstances until your husband also comes and I hear his side of the story. Can you see the difference between the two? A mufti is giving a response. Okay, a response based upon the question that's put to him. His job is not to ascertain the truth. His job is like a textbook to give the answer. A qazi, on the other hand, his job is to ascertain the truth. So if you have a difference of opinion, which normally comes up in inheritance issues, or in business, okay, or in some kind of a family affair, or in a husband and wife issue, something of that nature, and you want it resolving, then both parties, both disputing parties, need to take their case to a qadi and he will ascertain the facts. He may not be right because he doesn't have knowledge of the unseen, but based on the facts, he will make a decision. Anyway, we draw to a close. Jazakumullah khair for that little short burst of phone calls. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you all. May you have a blessed week and a blessed weekend. Stay safe, as always. We know the winds are going to pick up a little bit. Look out for each other. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you ease in this life and in the hereafter. Ameen. I will look forward to seeing you again next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.